Yep.
Yep. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
So, as we said, well, this will just be, our project, or one of our old projects, and then our future plans. This is what our presentation is about. Yeah, obviously, we already introduced ourselves. I'm Scotty. I'm the president. Jan's the treasurer. Tej Paul's the secretary, and Panis the vice president. Um, and yeah, I think Panis going to take this one.
Oh no, I
No,
think
that was
Tej. Yeah,
me.
Tej's got it.
Paul, got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
So this was the Formula SAE car that we just recently completed. We started from basically just a chassis, like a frame, and we added the engine. Like suspension was mostly there, but we fixed it up, made it running. We got the brakes to run properly, and we practically made it from the ground up, except for the body. And we did that all in 8 months, and it was like we got it up and running in 8 months total, and it was pretty fun. Like we got to learn things. Like we were just going at it, but we still got to learn a lot of things. And it's been over a year, a little bit more than a year. And then last semester and over the summer, we were just fixing it up, making it more of how we want it to be. Making it a little bit more proper. And it's really fun to drive. It's something you don't go too fast, but it's still fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then go to the
next
next slide. Yeah.
All right. For the goals for this semester, we will be designing a new Formula One SAE car this semester using various 3D models, like SolidWorks. And in the following semester, we'll actually be making the Formula One SAE car, fabricating it, and using our prior design that we're going to be making this semester. All right. We're also going to be bringing in speakers from the industry to talk about engineering and topics related to engineering. And in particular, we're going to be having an astronaut come talk and also a software designer.
Those are potential, but they are very close to us, so there's essentially it's guaranteed to happen, and we're looking to have that happen in the fall. Again, it will be virtual, but nonetheless, it will definitely be a great opportunity to network and get some connections.
Is the astronaut perhaps a UOP alum?
No, he is not.
Oh, it's the other one.
It's the other one, yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a few astronauts on our list.
Yeah. So I'll talk about the structure of our club this year. We like last year, it was a little bit unorganized. And besides, we were working every single Friday. But the tasks weren't as organized as they could be, and we weren't as efficient as we could be. So this year, when we're trying to comply with all the SAE regulations and build a car that we can go to the competition with, so we're changing up our structure of our club. That's going to be a little bit or a lot of bit more organized and efficient to complete our tasks. So what we're going to basically have within our group, if you want to work on the SAE car with us, we're going to have different task groups that will work on various parts of the car. For example, like steering or brakes, and things like that. We'll separate all of the different tasks for the vehicle. And so we'll have a task group, and you'll be part of that group. We'll also have task leaders, which currently they will be the officers so far. We'll have 4 different groups. Since we have 4 officers, maybe we'll add more depending on how many people.
We'll probably end up adding a few more because we'll probably have a decent group, and there are a lot of tasks to be completed, so it's definitely needed.
Yeah. So we'll have different task groups that you'll be a part of, and the task leaders will be in charge of getting those things finished. And then we have a task manager, which is going to be in charge of assigning the tasks to the task groups, and that's going to be Jan this year, and so he'll be figuring out all the tasks that you're going to have to do in your groups, and then You'll work on them in the groups and then bring them back to the full group. We'll discuss them and sort of integrate them with the rest of the car.
One thing I'd like to touch up on real quick, the tasks are not, it's not like we're going to force you guys to do something. It's going to be, we're going to ask you guys what you want to do, see what you're most comfortable with, what you're familiar with, or what you want to learn about. And then based off that, we'll put you guys in these task groups so that we can actually get, well, people who are actually really dedicated to these specific parts working on the project.
Right. We want you to be dedicated. So whatever you're interested in the car, that's what we want you to work on so that you can, have meaning behind it. And also the organization of this is not to add work to anybody. It's actually to minimize work and increase efficiency. So like we were discussing earlier, this is a very big project and it is pretty time consuming. But with this organization of with all these different tasks, it's going to make it a lot easier for everybody to balance their schoolwork and this work. So you're not going to be you're going to be working in a group, which makes it a lot easier to complete these tasks along with your schoolwork and do well in school. The school is number one, as we all know, but this is very important to all of us as well.
Yeah, the main idea here is it's supposed to provide you a focus. You get a particular task assigned to you for a week or two, and you work on it whenever you get free time. And then every week you just meet with your group. You talk about what you've come up with, what you've researched, what you've made, and what ideas you had. And then you guys together will figure out the best course forward, whether that is buying a certain part, designing a part a certain way. I mean, there's multiple, again, that's just all part of the design process. And the point is to make it streamlined for you. So you're working on one task and you don't have to worry about, well, here's a suspension. Now I got to worry about how that's going to fit on the chassis. No, someone else will make sure that the suspension fits on the chassis. Your job will purely be to make sure that the suspension works properly. That's the main goal here.
Yeah, and currently we already have senior project groups, which if you don't know what those are, like all mechanical engineers and other engineering disciplines have to do a senior project. And for mechanical engineers, it's 1 year long. So it's going to be, you have a fall semester and a spring semester of doing this design project. And so very fully committed to it, and they'll have lots of documentation about how they built the car and do different testing on it, which is required by SAE in order to compete. So this is going to greatly help us complete this project on time. One group that's going to design the chassis and one that's going to design the suspension. And if you're working with ASME on this car, we'll be working closely with these senior design groups to complete the car as a whole. So for the schedule, this fall, we're going to design, since it is virtual, we're going to design, do purchasing and documentation of our designs for the fall or for the spring. And
so by the way, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
let me jump in real quick. So by the documentation, we're talking about what SAE specifically requires. So in the near future, we are planning to share with you guys the SAE Formula One rulebook. Hopefully the 2021 version, if not the 2020 version. They're technically right now they have suspended their competition for indefinitely, but they still posted a draft of their 2021 rules. But we're going to go off what is concrete out there already. We're not going to go off a draft until it is officially published. But the differences between 2020, the 2020 rule book, and the 2021 rule book are not that big. So just we make it compatible with 2020, it should work for 2021 very easily.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully by the spring, we'll have everything ready for construction and testing. Yeah.
And then I'll go ahead and talk about the specific task groups. So as we said before, I will be taking the role of the task manager. So I will be working with pretty much every single person, making sure that they want to work on what they're working on and, well, see what is actually available. So on the top of the list, we have the engine, which it consists of the engine mount and well, making sure the engine fits within the chassis, and then how everything else will fit around it. So basically the sizing requirement. The engine we essentially already have picked. We're going to be using the same engine that we had last year on our previous car. The reason for that is it's cheap, it's very reliable. We have pretty much already most of the spare parts for it, so we have all the gaskets to replace them if we have to. So engine has already been decided, but we still need to design the mounts and make sure it fits within the chassis. That is a very large task. Last semester, that took us almost a whole month to make sure that it fit properly. We spent like a day on it one time, and it did not turn out well. We had to spend a few weeks on it. So very big project. The electronics. So if anybody's specifically interested in the electronic side, so if anybody knows anything about automotive, the general basic electronics in any car consists of the ECU and the wiring harness, which electrical should have some experience with. If not, you will get a lot of experience with it. That's basically just like the nerve system of the whole car. And the deal with this is, the reason why this is going to be such a big project is we're going to also add onto that electronic system. So we don't just want to have the simple like motorcycle switch, because this is a motorcycle engine, by the way. So we need to make a few modifications to conform it to SAE. Then fuel system is another big deal, specifically for SAE regulations. If you can imagine, if you put the fuel tank right over where the driver is sitting and you get into a crash, that is not a good idea. So SAE put some very tight regulations on that. We just got to make sure we're adhering to those. And then also the fuel system, well, you need to be at a certain pressure, and there's a lot that goes into the fuel system as well. You got the seat as well, you got steering. This all includes the mounting and how it works with the rest of the car. So again, for the seat, SAE has a specific set of rules for how the driver needs to be sitting. So it'll be your job to find the seat that fits to that, or we're going to have to make our own, which we definitely will have the capability to do. And then you got the pedals, powertrain, and cockpit. So powertrain is very important because that's what's taking the power from the motor and transferring it to the wheels. We were looking to have a senior design group work on this, but that probably won't happen. So one of our groups will have to take up that slack, and that is a major project. That will be for someone who is very dedicated to the project. We'll make sure you're working on this because you'll probably get a good kick out of it. And then last but not least, this isn't just SAE. We're not just all about the SAE car. That is our main focus. But again, if you really want to build something, if you have your own idea of what you want to build and it takes more than a few $100s, which you can't fund yourself, come talk to Scotty or to me specifically, well, with a like detailed, not too detailed, but just have something written down so that we can actually see what you're thinking, where it could potentially go, and then we can help you allocate resources for that project if that's what you really want to do. But yeah, I think that's it for the group tasks. So, and then yeah, so if you're interested in the SAE project, just make sure you marked your name. I see already a lot of people mark their names, so that's all we need. And
Yeah.
we'll include.
We're going to, yeah, everybody who marked their name on the sign-in sheet that they're interested in the SAE car. We'll invite those people to like another meeting that's just SAE project focused, and we'll get our task groups and all this sorts of stuff set up. It'll be next week. So mark your name on the sign-in sheet, and we will get you we'll get you all the info for that meeting next week. So
and then for just one more thing, for those watching the recording, make sure you email Tejpal at the email that we pasted in there. We just want to make sure if you missed out on this meeting that you can still be included in the SAE project. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, we'd like to hear them.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have two. So one, do we need to purchase the membership for the SAE, like the SAE membership? And then two, which one of those task groups would be working on like the structure of the car, or is that already built? Like, how does that work?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question. So for the SAE membership, as of right now, we're not requiring that anybody buys any membership. You do not have to pay for anything. However, once we do want to go to competition, we have to officially be part of SAE. So at SAE.org is where you would sign up. So the idea is with this is that once we've actually finished our project, we'll probably end up doing this a little bit before, probably sometime end of fall is the idea right now, is we're going to have a group of people sign up for SAE, whoever is willing to go to the competition. I believe the membership's around $25, and to make it worth your money, and to make you officially part of the SAE team, then we have so these official ASME shirts. So right there, UOP ASME shirts. You'll get one of those when you get your membership with SAE, and this is the shirt that we will wear when we go to competition at the SAE event. Again, not sure if that's even happening this year, but worst case scenario, it will happen the following year. And again, the regulations are very they're very I guess they're very friendly to us in the sense that they're trying to make sure that everyone that couldn't compete in the following year because of COVID can compete the following year. So the regulations will be very, very adaptable to us. And then could you go ahead and repeat the second question again?
Sure. So, like, I'm interested in working on the structure of the car, if it hasn't already been built. So I was just wondering which one of those task groups would be handling that. And like,
That's a very good question. Okay, so the chassis, which is the metal tubes. So if you, we don't have the presentation up right now, but it's essentially just the whole tubing of the car, and that is a senior design project because that is actually a fairly complex topic and it requires extreme documentation for SAE. It's something called an equivalence or structural equivalence spreadsheet, which is just a bunch of numbers that will make you want to vomit. So again, that will be a senior design group, and then the suspension will be another senior design group. But if you're interested in structural, like the structural aspect of it, I would suggest you could work on the powertrain because the amount of forces going through there, I mean, the calculations to find that out, they're fairly straightforward, but they're very elaborate. There's going to be a lot. So you're going to go from a mount for the differential through the differential and then back from the mount up to the frame and then from the differential to the motor as well. So sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Yeah, and
but
you can all and there's structure like you can like we're gonna need mounts for every component, so that is the structure as well, not the basic chassis, but it's the structure as well. So you can be in like you could do like mounting of various components as well, which is it's basically the same.
thank you.
No problem.
All right. I had a question, but now I forgot it. So.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, just try and remember.
Also, for membership purposes, I know this is unrelated to the car, but ASME also offers a professional membership. I think it's like $20 a year. And I highly recommend it. I just really enjoy reading the magazine, the free subscription you get to the monthly magazine. It talks about new and exciting stuff that's happening in the industry.
So quickly to touch up touch up on that. So there are two different organizations here. ASME is what we are technically the chapter of right now, and that is because our school wants to have an ASME chapter, but we are trying to compete in the SAE chapter right now. So again, to compete in the SAE chapter, we will need to buy the memberships of SAE. But again, ASME is what we are right now. So if you want to get that membership, feel free to. For freshmen, actually, for the first year students, it is free actually. And after that, I believe it is $20 or $25 for every year. Yeah, 25. There you go. But yeah, and then same thing applies to SAE. I believe for freshmen, it is free. And then for after that, it's $25. But again, for the SAE membership, we will also give you the shirt once you get the membership to consider you officially part of the UOP SAE team.
All right. Well, I remember my question now.
All right.
I was wondering, because it seemed like a lot of what you're going over earlier with the SAE car that you built. Before it seemed like it was mostly, if I understand correctly, like structural things and sort of like suspension geometry. Do you guys also like do work on like the motor, things like that? Or is it mostly just suspension geometry and structural rigidity in the chassis and stuff like
So
that?
to be a little history on it is the suspension and the frame work all together. We found them all done all together.
Oh.
Then we put in the engine, and we actually got the engine to run from nothing. So we bought the engine, then we bought the throttle body, the air intakes, and then the electronics for it, and then the fuel system, right? That was pretty much that first 8 months. That was the main battle.
Mhm.
After that, those 8 months of testing it, or well, rather just getting it to work, when we actually started test driving it, it turned out a lot of the structural components were inadequate for what we were doing. So
Mhm.
some of the suspension components failed. And then the following semester, we had to repair those. The motor mounts that we put in, like I said, we spent like a day or two on it. We should have spent like a week, which we did then in the spring. So in the spring, we kind of fixed our previous mistakes, just upgraded the car and beefed it up to the point where it structurally was sound, right? So last semester, or sorry, fall semester of 2019 was the engine, literally
Mhm.
all about the engine. And then the spring was all about the structure. So again, for the fall right now for 2020, we're looking to primarily design the structure. The engine itself, if you're really interested in the engine, that I think I might actually be more involved with that directly, because I was very involved with the first engine that we put on, and I know most of the components that belong with it. So I'm going to be very close to that group, or I might even be in charge of that group. And we'll definitely be doing some test runs. We'll probably have the engine pretty soon, because again, like I said, we already know exactly what we want.
Mhm.
So,
All right, cool. Thank you.
mhm. All right. Any other questions?
I have one that's unrelated to like the car and stuff,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it's more like you all did your co-op, or most of you did already. Like,
Mhm.
when did you do it in terms of the years, sort of, that because it interferes with your senior design project, mainly for
I
mechanical?
have a fun story about this. Is it okay if I
Go
start,
ahead.
Jan?
Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
for it.
All right. Long story short, I decided I wanted to go study abroad in Germany, and I decided this my very first year. So I organized my schedule so I had only engineering electives for one semester, and it worked out fine. Except for the problem was I was supposed to do my co-op also, like right after, in a local uh, company, but turns out they don't hire people that don't know any German.
Oh shoot.
So I got a few offers, but most of them were unpaid, unfortunately, and that's against co-op regulation rules. And I ended up getting homesick, so I came back and did my co-op in biotech. And that was a whole year of me being away from campus. And luckily, I got accepted to blended masters, and I'm doing my senior project my 5th year. So there are ways of getting around it. You just have to kind of strategize. Or if you do want to do anything like crazy like me, like go to a country where you don't know the culture or language, you need to be able to take the risk.
So you did like co-op junior, senior, and then your senior design senior plus 5th year, basically.
Yeah. I went to Germany spring of my junior year, and then co-op fall of my senior year. And now
Okay.
I'm doing senior design my master year.
So what
or
I'm hearing
graduate
is
year.
learn German first, then go.
Yeah, that works. At least that works for me. So, I'll touch upon my co-op story. So I got my co-op my spring semester of my junior year, and I was supposed to be in it until last month, but because of COVID, they cut it short. Basically, I only worked for like 2.5 or 3 months, and well, then they decided to just go ahead and waive the co-op because there's just an unforeseen circumstance, right? There's really nothing you can do about that. And they didn't want to let that affect my graduation or anybody's graduation for that fact, because there were quite a few people who had that happen. So they were pretty gracious in allowing us to not have to get another internship, because that would have been pretty tough for everyone to do that. Yeah, and so, yeah. And schedule-wise, it worked out perfectly. Co-op my junior year, going into my senior summer time, and then senior year is senior design. That's how it rolls.
Yeah, I did the same thing spring of junior year, which is just last spring, and over the summer I co-opted. And then yeah, this is my 4th year, and I'm doing senior design, so there's no conflict or anything like that, and that's what most people do. But unless they have like a 5th year planned or a 4.5 year plan or something, whatever.
So yeah, some people actually like to save it till their 5th year because they'll actually know what they want to do at that time. And to do the 5th year, usually you want to try and graduate in 4 years. But if you're doing something like a blended master's or a minor or something like that, or if the circumstances just happen to be that way, 5th year is usually another big time where a lot of people go do their co-op, because senior design will typically be that 4th year. That's the idea.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have 2. So if we're not 100% sure we want to join ASME, is it cool if we still go to the meeting next week?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
So you can come to the meeting. Just make sure to mark it next to your name, so we send you the email and all that. On the sign-in sheet. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yeah.
Were you able to sign in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just mark it next to your name. You don't have to. You guys don't have to commit at all. Like right now. Just come see what it's about. Try it for a week or so. If you don't like it, you don't want to be committed. I mean, you don't have to be. You can be as committed as you want. Really. So you could just come to general meetings if that's what you want to be about. And come see our speakers, like the astronaut and other speakers and stuff, or other events. You can just be a general member like that. But if you want to be a part of the SAE team, you can be a part of that as well. Yeah, and you can come to the SAE meeting next week and see what the tasks are that are available if you're unsure.
Yeah. So again, just to finish touching up on that next meeting, the meeting that we'll be having next week will be to see what you want to do, what you're interested in. And again, as task manager, I will try my best to figure out what you could possibly work on that will work best with your interest, where you want to do, or where you want to go in your life. So again, like for electricals, primarily we'll be working on electrical. For, I believe you were CS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for someone who's in CS, actually, since again this year we know what our engine is already, we know everything about it, maybe we would be open to the idea of playing around with the tuning software a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's actually a very very good skill to have that many people don't have and many people don't fully understand. We actually don't know much about it ourselves, but we do know quite a few people who have experience with that. And if you're really interested in tuning cars, essentially, that would be definitely something that we would also like to explore.
Yeah, so you can be a part of whatever group that you think will help you best in your career, or you just want to have fun in. And I will say quickly that my at least me being involved last year, when I was getting interviewed with for my co-op, it was a big topic for me to talk about ASME, and it helped out a lot. I can guarantee that it will be a huge, extra bonus mark for them. They're like, ooh, this guy's a part of a club and stuff. And also you have a lot to talk about during interviews.
And it helps even more if you're really involved with the project. Like if you know the fine details that nobody really knows about, and you can tell someone, hey, just so you know, this piece was actually like, it's like a solid tube, but if you do it right, like you might have a weld hidden under there or something like that, and you tell someone that and be like, we put that there, I put that there, like that goes a long way, and it shows how much how involved you are and how much you're, I mean, if it looks good, how your capabilities. So
Yeah, plus a lot of,
so
especially at interview level, if you make it to the interview, they want to get to know you, and they want to get to know how well you work in a group environment. And that's the main priority of being a part of an organization, is getting that experience, getting your nose out of the textbook and actually getting your hands dirty with your peers and with people around you. Every interview I've had about 3 engineering internships at this point. One was my co-op. Each one, my future boss, would ask me about ASME or any organization I was a part of, and what my involvement was, or how I dealt with, let's say, confrontation within the organization, how I overcame issues. And you don't have to be involved in the SAE organization or SA team, but being a part of some sort of group is really, really important.
Yeah, and so you could just not, you could be, help us out if you wanted to be like an active member. You help us out get sponsors, help us out to get speakers, anything like that that you could think of that would help on an organizational level. We would be happy for anybody to do that as well. And so we are over time right now. So you guys, we can close the meeting here. Thank you everybody for coming. I'm so excited that so many people were able to show up tonight. I'm excited to get started on these projects and just see what you guys are all interested in.
hold on, we got a quick little question here. So where's the SAE race? So just a quick little touch up on that. So the SAE formula competition is actually, I believe there's 3 regions in America for the internal combustion engines. One is in Southern California, one I believe is in Michigan, and one is over on the East Coast, like really far East Coast. So obviously we're going to the one in California. That's the idea. And yeah.
That be Streets of Willow?
Sorry, what's up?
I was saying, would that be on Streets of Willow?
That's what we thought. We're not 100% sure yet.
Yeah.
The tracks, depending on the years.
Okay. I want to go there.
Well, we might just stop by.
Whether
So,
they do it or
where
not.
it's hosted, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a vintage rally race thing that was over there, but COVID knocked it out, so I couldn't go.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes.
Yep.
And so, yeah, make sure to just sign in and make sure you notify you're interested in the car. And if not, if you want to do something else for us in terms of organizational stuff, shoot me an email or Jan or Paneet or Tej Paul, any of the officers, and we'll organize that as well. But yeah, thank you all for coming. You can stick around for questions or anything like that.